Hello, and welcome to the Nursing and the Arts podcast. I'm your host, Susan J. Faris, MSN RN, SJF Communications. Here we will listen to stories from nurses that use the creative arts in their practice or in their personal lives. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 9 of the Nursing and the Arts podcast. I'm your host, Susan, and I have with me a phenomenal person who I've known for a couple of years, all virtually, and we're buds. We're kindred spirits. We have Marianne Sciucco. She's a writer who happens to be a nurse, who happens to be a writer. I put it all together, you know?
Okay.
So, Marianne, I just am looking forward to this so much. I am a member of your group, Al's Authors, since about 2022, I believe. You interviewed me. My book is part of the over 350 authors that write about dementia, Alzheimer's, and such to help the community. And we will be discussing that a little bit later. But why don't you introduce yourself and tell me and the viewers a little bit about where you started your nursing career, how it led to writing or vice versa, as you said. And then we can ask a couple more questions later.
Sure. Thank you so much for inviting me to be guest number 9. And
Number 9.
congratulations on your new podcast. I'm
Thank
so
you.
proud of you for taking it on and deciding to learn a new skill, which is quite challenging
It's a
at
beast.
this venture. Yeah, it's really hard. I don't know if people realize it's really hard to make a podcast and to get it out there. So kudos to you.
Thank you.
Anyway, like you had said earlier, we are kindred spirits and we are both lifelong learners. And
Yes.
I went into nursing. I was 29 years old. I already had a bachelor's degree. It was in English. I wanted to be a writer. That was my lifelong goal since childhood. I was going to be a writer. I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to write books. I wanted to do all that. So, like a lot of people, my dreams were bigger than I could provide for. So I ended up going into nursing. But on the way, I went to University of Massachusetts at Boston.
Mm.
I was the editor of the school newspaper, the student newspaper. I worked on that for like 3 or 4 years and became the exec editor in chief, which was a wonderful experience. I did some internships in news radio, and I worked at some newspapers. I did freelance writing.
So you
So
did a lot of writing
I
in
thought, yeah,
journalism.
I
Yeah.
did. The thing about it, Sue, is that I was paid to do these things. And
Mm.
so I knew that if I was good enough to get paid by like a big newspaper for my work, that I knew what I was doing.
Absolutely.
So that gave me a lot of confidence later on when I wanted to write a book.
Right. Right.
And over the years, since childhood, I used to write books. I used to like put pieces of paper together and staple them together and write a story inside, and that would be my book. So I did that, and I was a big reader. I read all the time. I came home from the library with stacks of books I could barely lift, and all I wanted to do was read and do writing and be creative. I have a
Right.
creative spirit. So after I got out of school, I worked for a little bit, struggled, especially in the Boston area media
Mm.
market. It's really hard. I'm sure it is today, but it was back in the 80s. It was really hard then to break into, trying to get a job at the Boston Globe or some of the big newspapers or
Sure.
TV everywhere. I tried so hard. And being a woman didn't help at that time, I will be
Mm.
honest. And
Those were
I
the
never really
times.
could get a foothold. Yeah, I could get a foothold. So in the meantime, I ended up going off and getting a job in a nonprofit sector, which was okay. I didn't want to work in a corporate environment because I didn't want to spend my life making money for somebody else. So that kind of put a damper on a lot of career options. So I ended up kind of falling into nursing in the early 90s. There was a nursing crisis across the country.
Yes,
You
I
might
remember.
remember.
Yes.
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 And I was thinking, what am I going to do? I want to do something that's going to be worthwhile. I want to spend my days doing something that is worthwhile, that's going to make a difference to people. And I want to feel good about what I do. So
Absolutely.
I thought, gee, maybe I'll go into nursing. So
Hmm.
before I did that, I got a job in a nursing facility in long-term care, which, when I was 15, I had a job in a long-term care facility. I was working in the kitchen. setting up trays and doing dishes.
But you were in
I
the
had
environment, you were in
I was
that
in the
culture,
environment,
right?
right? But
Yeah.
I had little experience with the patients, or very, interactions,
Hmm.
minimal. But I ended up going into that job, and I wanted to make sure that would like the work of a nurse, because I really didn't
Hmm.
know much about it. I'd been hospitalized and things in the past, but that doesn't really tell you much. So I thought, well, I'll do this and see what it's like, and I'll talk to the nurses, and I'll watch what they do, and I'll see if I like this. And then if I do, then I'll go to nursing school. So that's what happened. I
And
found that
that's
I
what
really
happened.
liked it. And at the time, I'd met my husband and relocated to upstate New York to be with him, and we got married. And I went to nursing school, and I became an LPN to
Oh,
start.
first an LPN. Okay.
Yes, because to get into there's a nursing program. I worked the college now. There's a college in my town, and they have a nursing program. It was the first community college nursing program in the country, Orange County Community College, Middletown, New York. And I wanted to go there, but because there had been this nursing shortage, now there was this massive influx of people wanting to
Right.
go into nursing. So they had a really long waiting list to get into the program. And I
Uh-huh.
didn't want to wait because I was 29. I had already gotten
Right.
a degree. I did the college thing. I just wanted to find a fast track to like get a job. So I did the LPN program. So it took me, it was 9 months.
Uh-huh.
So then I got a job immediately. I was one of two people in my class that got a hospital job. So I was real happy about that. And I worked for a couple years, and then I decided to go to the next level. So at
Uh-huh.
that time, again, because I had already gotten a degree and I was
Sure,
now
sure.
30, I don't know, 31 or whatever I was,
Hmm.
I didn't want to go back to the classroom environment. So they have a program in New York State it was called the Regents College program.
Yes, yes, I've heard of
Yeah,
Regents. Okay.
I did Regents. And so I was able to like take a lot of my classes. Some of them I took at the community college, like psychology and sciences and things. Some of them I tested out of, like you could test out of nursing one and nursing three, I think. So, because I
Interesting.
already had the LPN, so that if you passed the test, then you got the credit.
Sure.
So I did
Wow,
that, and then
great. Yeah.
yeah, I got finished it,
Uh-huh.
and that was like in the early '90s, 90. No, actually, no, that was in later on, '98. I think I got my license. So I've
Okay.
been a registered nurse since then, and I did a lot of med surg work. So
That's what I was going to ask you. So you were in clinical when you first started out, you were in med surg, and then you gravitated to the elder care generation and all, right? You've done, what are the
Yeah, elder care
areas?
is all a part of all of it. The only place you may not encounter elder care is in maternity, in
Right.
peds.
Peds
But
and
in some
psych,
hospitals
maybe
like
psych
mine,
too. Yeah.
they had overflow on these
Mm.
units.
So
So
you
you could be
needed to
working in
be able
pediatrics
to.
and you could have somebody in their 90s
Right, right,
because they had room. Wherever they had room, and even in mother baby, they would often maybe put elders in there if like they needed the space because
right,
they,
right.
hospitals fill up
And
fast.
you,
So you
well,
encounter it everywhere.
right. So that was staff nursing and then somehow case management and then now
Mhm.
campus nurse. So you've evolved in different
Right.
areas with adult
Mhm.
nursing as well. That's great. Um, you are an author of contemporary and young adult fiction. And I was looking at your website and you're amazing. It took you quite a while to write your first book, Blue
Mhm.
Hydrangeas. By the way, blue hydrangeas is my favorite flower.
Oh,
My
great.
and my
Mine
mom's
too.
name was Marianne, spelled a little differently. So I mean,
Mhm.
we're just so kindred. Every time I see a blue hydrangea, I'm just I don't know, amazed, marveled, etc. And now I will always think of you when I see
Oh,
one.
that's
So
great.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you first, I mean, we'll get to Al's authors in a little while, but
Mhm.
your first book then was Blue Hydrangeas, and now you are writing sequels or a prequel. Well, there was a
A
prequel that you've
prequel.
written.
Yeah.
Okay. Are they both prequels to Blue Hydrangeas or
Well,
one is
there's
a
two
sequel?
prequels. One is The Christmas at Blue Hydrangeas, and then the other one is A Wedding at Blue Hydrangeas, but I haven't finished that
You
yet.
haven't finished it, but it is a prequel. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it happens before, 20 or so years before
So
the
what is
dementia.
the story or plot of the fiction Blue Hydrangeas book?
So Blue Hydrangeas is a love story. It's called an Alzheimer's love story.
Oh,
And it's about Jack and Sarah, who are living an idyllic retirement life on Cape Cod, running their bed and breakfast. and they have a wonderful life until dementia comes knocking, Alzheimer's
Uh,
disease,
wife or
and
husband on
it's the wife.
the wife. Okay.
Yeah, so
Sarah.
Sarah has Alzheimer's, and Jack's taking care of her, and he promised her the day that she got her diagnosis that he would never leave her and they would
Oh.
stay at home in their house together no matter what happens.
Oh, I'm so touched by it
So,
already. It
yeah,
goes right to the
yep,
heart, right to the heart. Yeah.
yep. So and then the story jumps 9 years later.
Okay. Now,
And
when in the book, did you self-publish that or did you have a publisher? What type of a
I
publisher?
did, yes. When I started out, the book was ready to, I finished the book in 2004 and I was trying to find a publisher and I spent many, many years sending it out and just getting back like thanks but no thanks. So and nobody ever read the book. Nobody read the first chapter.
You were
Nobody read the
before your
first
time
chapter.
with what is going on
Yeah,
today in
I
life.
was yeah, I
Absolutely.
was just like devastated because
Yeah,
if somebody had read it and said this is crap, then I could say okay, it's crap.
right,
Now what do I do? But nobody ever told me that. So as the years went on, I was writing other things and working and getting my career going, and
right.
I had a child, so I was doing that, and I just kept tweaking it and working it and looking for new places to submit it. And then eventually a friend of mine in a writer's group, she had published on Kindle and Kindle had just started really.
Right.
She
Yeah,
said, well, I'm doing really well with my book. Why don't you try it? What have you got to lose? So I said, well, I got nothing to lose. So sure. So it took me a whole year to actually get that book prepared for publication because
so
I
that
didn't
was
know
an
what I was
ebook,
doing.
right? It was an
Yes,
ebook
it was an
first and
ebook.
then a paperback and then an audio.
The
Okay.
ebook. Yeah, exactly. That was
Hmm.
the whole staging. So that was really hard making the ebook because I'm not
Right.
like, I can do a lot of things, but stuff like that was hard to figure out. And there wasn't a lot of guidance. So I got really smart and I said, somebody said, oh, I know this guy. He helps me do my books and he's really quick and he's cheap and he does a good job. So I'm like, tell me his name. So I got in touch with him and he charged me like $60 to do my book, which is like, why am I killing myself for
When you say do your book, so
$60?
format it and put it
Format the
on
book.
Amazon
He
Kindle and
formatted nope, he formatted the book. We made the ebook and the paperback book,
hmm
and then I uploaded them directly to Kindle to start to
to start.
Amazon,
Hmm.
whatever it was called,
Right.
Create
Create
Space
space.
at the
Yeah, back
time. Yeah, it was
then.
Create Space. So I did that. And then, it was funny because we had to go away. My daughter had some kind of chorus event or something she was doing. So we went away and we were staying in some hotel when my book went live. And like I didn't know what was going on.
So he didn't
So
tell you the
when we
date that it
saw
was
it,
going.
no, I
He.
did it. I did it
Uh,
myself.
okay. Okay.
I knew the
Okay.
book was going to publish.
Okay.
And so I didn't know that I should have made provisions for this, but all of a sudden I'm gonna show my husband, look, my book is here on sale on Amazon. He's like, oh my God. So he sends an email out to everybody he works with like all these women. There's like 80 something women in his division. He sends out a mass email to his coworkers because people start buying it. The next thing I know, I'm seeing sales are coming in and people
Oh,
are
how
writing me
exciting, right? Yeah.
reviews and all these things. And it was all great. It was all good stuff. So that made me really happy like to come out like that. But I didn't know that I should have planned like some kind of promotion and buy some advertising and run a sale
Right.
and
Right.
do blog hops and do
Hindsight.
all
Yeah.
those things. I didn't
But
know
that's
any of that.
okay. Look where you are today. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. You're all
Yeah.
over the
So,
place.
it's,
Yeah. So,
I mean, I would have loved to have had like a big bestseller, and be able to retire, but that doesn't happen. But what did happen with this book is it became the foundation for all authors. So
right. And
I'm
I
really
was
proud
reading
of that.
about that you couldn't, at the beginning, there wasn't that audience or that publisher that really grasped what you were saying. So you decided with a friend of yours that's also an author or writer. Can you tell us about that you started as authors and all?
Yeah. So I found this group. Now we're, jumping ahead. I finished my book 2004. It's published in 2013. A long time, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, a long time. So then I had joined a group of writers called Clean Indie Reads. And it was authors who write books that are free of overt sexual content, language, violence, blood, gore,
Okay.
things
So
like that.
clean. Yeah.
Sweet, yeah, clean fiction,
Hygienic.
sweet reads. Yeah, things that,
Infection control.
Yeah, no
No, I'm
pink
just kidding.
parts, that's what they say, no
Uh,
pink parts.
okay.
So, I was in with them for about a year or so, and I was pretty active. I was one of the like earlier members because now they have thousands and thousands of people. But at the time, she didn't have that many. And one day I got to thinking about it. You know, what we would do is we would help each other. We would do blog hops. So you'd be on my blog, I'll be on your blog. People would write reviews for each other. We would do newsletter swaps, and people would help each other ask questions. You know, what about this? Anybody know about
Right.
that? Where do I go to get this? It was just this real helpful community. So I started
Hmm.
thinking, I said, wonder if I could do something like this with people who have written books about Alzheimer's.
Amazing.
I thought that might be helpful. Hmm. So I said, well, who do I know that wrote a book about Alzheimer's? Well, there's not many. I mean, at the time, you know, you're going back to like 20, it was 2015 at the time, you know, there really weren't a lot of books out there about Alzheimer's dementia from personal experience. A lot of
Right.
books
From
you could
personal.
find
Mm,
that were like the nuts and bolts written by doctors and neurologists and psychiatrists and telling you all about these things that you might need to know, but there was not a lot of people telling you what was really going on.
mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
had become friends online with Jean Lee, who is the author
Mm-hmm.
of Alzheimer's Daughter. And she had written to me because she had read my book and she loved it. And she asked me if I would read her book. And she was very timid about it, very unsure of it. And I did. And I said, this is a wonderful book. I love it. And she was like really pleased. And she published her book and got it back to me. And she was one of the first people I thought of. And I had a couple of other people that I knew. So I said to Jean, do you know anybody else that's written a book like this that might want to work together? So she knew Vicky Tapia. Vicky
Mm,
wrote
Vicky. Mm,
Somebody Stole My Iron.
mm.
So that was her family memoir. So both Jean and Vicky were daughters of Alzheimer's, and
Okay.
both of them had two parents together at the same time with Alzheimer's,
Wow.
which is
Okay.
like a whole subject of its own. So anyway, we got together and these other two people, and what we decided to do for the whole month of June and September, I mean, I'm sorry, June of 2015, is we were going to run a campaign during Alzheimer's Month promoting
Oh,
all of each other's books. And there were
that's
five of
awesome.
us.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody on their blog, everybody do social media. And so the three of us were the only ones who really carried it off. The other two people didn't fulfill their side of the bargain,
Okay.
and we were disappointed in them. And so we were like, okay, well, it was over. And then we thought back in November comes around, November is caregiver month. So
Right.
I said to them, would you guys just, the two of them, would you guys like to do this again? We'll do the same thing, but we'll do it for caregiver month. So they were all excited. They said, yeah, let's do it. So then when June rolls around again, now we're in 2016. I get in touch with them. I say, so why don't we do this again, but let's do something different. Instead of us sharing on our own blog, why don't we start a blog? And
Mm,
why don't we invite other authors to write about their books on our blog and then we'll share it. We'll do it all on social media. And
wonderful
that's how it
idea.
started. And
Uh-huh.
that was, we said, well, do you think we were going to do it 5 posts a week, Monday to Friday for 4 weeks? Can we get 20 people to write for us? That was the challenge. Will 20
I
people want
see.
to write a blog post for us? Because they don't know us. We don't have anything going on over here. We're nothing. But they did. We reached out to
Wow.
people, books we'd read, books that we saw on in Amazon that were doing well. And at the end of the month, we had more. We had more than we needed. So we said, well, let's just keep going until we don't have any more. And that'll be it.
And
Well,
now,
now we're going on to 10 years and we have almost 400
oh my
authors and we
goodness.
have the podcast and we have the book club and we have the custom
And
caregiver collections and the
yep.
virtual events and the poetry book and so
Right. I
many
was just going to
things.
say the poetry book. I've been included in the poetry book on
Yeah.
your podcast, and my
Mhm.
book is part of your collection.
Yes, it
So
is.
I'm a proud Al's author. As you can see on
Mm,
my website, I have your logo on there and
yes.
everything, and
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
connected us. And really, for me, I was a grandchild of an Alzheimer's
Mm-hmm.
sufferer.
Right.
Early Alzheimer's, my grandmother had, and so my poem "And Zest Ends" is in the book of mine, but it's just another way to share that with kids too, because it was so, what is this, in my head. I loved her, but I was a little bit frightened. I didn't know how to act. I didn't know how to feel. And so Al's authors, if I had had something like that when I was growing up, even as a teenager, it would have helped me immeasurably, because we didn't
Mm-hmm.
talk about it for 20 years until my poem was
Jeez.
written, about as a nurse reflecting on this. And I was a kid when she passed away. At age 60, she was. from Alzheimer's dementia. Uh, and you've been so helpful to the community. You've brought everybody together. You've maintained this. It's a lot of energy and work constantly. So you are the board president as well as the manager and co-founder of Al's Authors. Um,
Yes.
it's an amazing group. I think every nurse should at least go to the website, if not join, and maybe contribute a blog or a poem or, some words of wisdom from all of their stories of taking care of people with dementia. I wanted to know, do you ever think about doing a documentary about Al's Authors? Because I was thinking that would be a fantastic movie as well for people that might be visual and don't go to blogs or websites, but just another avenue. I was thinking about that today.
Well, we do have a video on our website that talks about how we got it started
I'll have to
and
watch
what
that.
it
I haven't
means to
seen that.
us. Yeah, it's a short, only a few minutes, but it's like an introductory thing with the team and the founders.
Okay.
And so we talk about, our dementia journey and what it meant to us to have this resource. Because most of the people in the organization, they wrote the book they wish they had on their journey.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
And many
Yeah.
people, as you learn so much. Everybody comes into this, even nurses, no matter how much you know as a nurse about caring for dementia, if it's your mother, you don't know anything.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to learn just like everybody else because it's so close to home. And um, people, when their experience is over, like I say, it always comes to its natural conclusion, which means the death of the person. Um, are left with all this knowledge, and then people really are driven to take what they've learned and put it down.
Exactly. And sometimes there's death of the spouse that's a caregiver of the Alzheimer patient. I
That
have that
too.
in my family as well. So
Hmm.
that's incredibly hard. I was wondering, to shift a little bit, how many podcasts have you been a guest on?
Oh God, I don't know.
I was
I
thinking,
have
I
lost
wonder
count.
how many. And are they all Alzheimer's related or are they writing related? A little bit of everything?
It's a little bit of everything. In the
Yeah.
beginning, I was on a lot of podcasts. Um, some bigger than others. I always said, this is my practice for when Oprah calls. I need to
Yeah,
feel confident speaking about this. But I did a lot of broadcasts just about my book and about writing and everything. And then once all the authors came, then I was just on one. It was just came out like a week or so ago, and I get around.
you do. You do. And you have
Yeah.
very interesting, just interesting focus in these podcasts. Like there's one coming up with three gentlemen whose spouses have
Oh,
Alzheimer's.
that.
I can't wait I'm
That's
going to try to see that one or,
Yeah,
join
that's
in.
one of our virtual events. I call it All's Authors Live. We've done several. I don't remember how
Uh-huh.
many, maybe a dozen.
Okay.
We've been doing them for the last 3 or 4 years. We try to do three a year at least. Just because I would do it every month, but it's just labor intensive and
It's a
I don't,
lot.
it's
Yeah.
just six of
Yeah.
us and
Sure.
everybody's tired. We've been doing this for
Sure.
almost 10 years.
Sure.
So I have three gentlemen coming on to talk about caring for a wife with Alzheimer's or dementia. Two of them have written books and one of them is a blogger.
Oh, okay.
One of the
Okay.
gentlemen is blind. One of
Interesting.
one of the gentleman's wife had early frontotemporal dementia, early, young onset, and has already passed. A short journey. Another man is going on, 14 and a half years with his wife, caring for her at home.
Wow. So all
So
different
yeah,
circumstances.
it's all
Yeah.
different situations and circumstances. And I believe the blind man, I don't know if his wife is still living or not. We'll
Hmm.
find out. But
We'll find out. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, everybody, and that's just because every situation is different.
And you are different. And I just am I'm just so impressed with you and your strength and your community focus. And look at what you've built. It's
Mm.
amazing. It is so necessary too. This
Mm.
world needs community togetherness rather than suffering, I suppose, which brings me to, what the heck do you do for fun, my dear? What do you do for fun? What do you like doing besides all this?
I like to read. I said that, and my writing can be my fun too. But I like to watch TV. I watch movies, and I like to watch some of the different series. I like the things like Downton Abbey and
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I like those kind of dramas, so I'll watch that. Call the Midwife, that's one of my favorites.
Okay,
So
okay.
I do that, and my husband and I travel. My daughter lives in England, so we have to go visit,
Oh, you have to go visit,
several
right.
times a year. We get out there to see
Really?
her and
That's
travel. Yeah, we get
wow.
around out there. And we have family, I still have my family back up in Massachusetts, and we visit them, and we like to we go for walks, we go on trails, and we try to explore new things. So,
Nature
you
is
know,
wonderful
I
too,
work,
and for
yeah.
writing. And you work at a campus health center?
Yeah, 2 days a week. I work at
Oh,
the
that's great.
wellness
That's
center
great.
at the college that I mentioned earlier.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sure
that's
there,
fun. That's a whole
yeah.
different thing because, the people there for the most part are young and they have different concerns.
They do have different concerns.
Although I
Yes.
do bring the Alzheimer's Association in, regularly to provide programming because like
That's
some people are caregiving,
that's amazing in
especially like
college. Yeah.
staff and
Uh-huh.
faculty.
Huh.
Kids children can be caregivers.
Absolutely, they can be, you
Hmm.
know. Well, you are just so inspiring to me. I'm so happy to have you on
Yeah,
episode 9. This is my first 10 episodes.
it's
Do
exciting.
you have anything to ask or actually to share with nurses? Because this is nursing in the arts, of how
Hmm.
valuable the creative arts can be. So yours is writing. And is it cathartic? Is it therapeutic for you? Do you release tension? Tell me how writing helps
Hmm.
you in a creative way with nursing stories or um, personal experiences that you've had, etc.
When I had to make my decision to give up trying to find the writing career and went into nursing, I kind of shut down that whole creative side of myself.
You're not
And
alone.
yeah,
Yeah,
for
you're not
many
alone.
years. And, working in nursing is so consuming. But one of the
Mhm.
things that I learned is it gives you a front row seat in the theater of life.
I love that.
You see everything.
I love that. I'm going to use
Yeah,
that
you
and
see
quote you.
everything. In many of my roles, I would find myself suddenly thrust into somebody else's drama and
Mhm.
witnessing things that were like most of the time not good.
Right. Or
You know,
catastrophic or, just
yeah,
very
people
all
going through bad
encompassing.
times. Yeah,
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
going through maybe the worst thing that ever happened to them, and now here I am. And so you take home a lot of that. You take home a lot of those feelings,
Exactly.
I'm compassionate, and so I would put myself in their place, and I would try to be helpful and try to be there for them. So I had built up like so many stories, and then
Absolutely. I was just going to say they're all in there. Yeah.
they needed an outlet.
They needed to release.
So one thing I did, they had a this I worked with this wonderful nurse manager, and she wanted to start a newsletter for the nursing department. So she did, and
Uh-huh.
she published this little thing, and it was terrible.
And
I
that's where
saw
your
it. I
writer
said,
comes in. Yeah.
I said, I can make this better if you want. So she's like, really? And I told her about my background, that I'd worked in newspapers and I ran a newspaper. And so she was like, oh, would you do this? And she said, I'll pay you. So not only was she gonna pay me, but she was gonna pay me my salary, what I was getting per hour as a nurse to do this, which was
Wow.
a lot of money, really, to do that. So I said, "Sure, I'll do it." So I took that on. We did it 4 times a year for a few years. So that kinda, like, reinvigorated my creative side and got me back to
Absolutely.
writing. I wrote an article that got published in a nursing journal called The Nursing Spectrum,
Oh, I remember
and,
Spectrum very much. In
yep,
fact,
Spectrum.
I did continuing ed research articles with someone. We co-authored, and I used to get
Yep.
my CE there. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And then
Oh,
I
yes.
decided to write the book. And, I was working full time at the time. So I would write in the evenings and stuff and carve
Hmm.
out time for myself. A lot of times, like after my husband and my daughter went to bed, I'd stay up for an hour or two and type, and get it going. So if you are in that kind of a situation, now you have even more tools that you can use to be creative.
Absolutely.
So, you could dictate your story ideas or, essays or whatever you want into your device and have it printed for
Exactly.
you if you want. I
Exactly.
mean,
Yep.
I create a document that way. But, there are blogging opportunities. You could just you don't have to write anything for publication. You could keep a journal. You
Right.
could, figure it out. There's a big demand for, nurses to write articles for um, websites and
Right.
blogs and things like that on different
Absolutely.
aspects of healthcare. So especially if you have a lot of credentials, like I don't, so that kind of stinks. But
Oh,
if you're
you
a nurse
definitely
with
have. You've
a lot
created
of
your
letters,
credentials.
well,
It
yeah,
doesn't,
but when you have a
the
lot of
alphabet
letters
soup.
after your name, they like that. They like to
Yeah, they
see it.
like it, but you know what? I've got some, and it
Yeah,
sometimes gets a little, it's just a little bit humorous almost sometimes. Like they get longer and longer and longer, which is fine. Some
right,
people are
right.
just highly motivated, but it's what you do with yourself and with for
Exactly.
the community. And so I am just so privileged to know you and inspired by you. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for
Thank
doing,
you.
you're getting me in the heart now. I could feel it. I can feel it. Um, Thank you again. And I think we talked about almost everything I wanted to. I remember seeing that your Al's Authors is the global community of author writing about Alzheimer's and dementia from personal experiences to light the way for others. On that note, thank you, Marianne Sciucco. You are a wonderful light in life. Keep it
Oh,
up.
thank you, Susan. That's so
And
kind to
well,
say.
thank you so much for listening to the Nursing and the Arts podcast. We loved having you here. And don't forget to sign up for our Facebook group, Nursing and the Arts, as well. And for information, you can email info@sjfcommunications.com.